Good morning, everyone. Uh, Good evening to those of you in Asia, and happy birthday to Wei Ting, our Chinese interpreter. Facebook tells me it's a birthday. It could also be fake birthdays that people put on Facebook, but I think this is a real one. Happy birthday.
Thank you, Dr. Lai.
So I see there's a question about the method of kind of on the physiological side, slowing down your breath and the benefits of that. Then there is the mind training side, right? So the question is about kind of a logistical question, so to say. Yes, I neglected to say, not necessary to say out loud, more like mentally. You know, Om Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum. So mentally, kind of in a relaxed way. The key is to just relax body and mind. So now on YouTube, for example, there are so many different recordings of Om Mani Padme Hum. So maybe do some research to search for one that you like the tune. It's not too busy, and the speed you can measure between 5.5 to 6 each recitation. Then you know, especially at the beginning, you can choose that and play it. So as you play, you sit down and then, you know, breathe in, breathe out, breathe in, breathe out. So once that you get a hang of it, right? And then you can use that on the basis of getting used to being aware of breath, and then on top of that, having the mantra to go along with it. Then on top of that, you can slowly build up, breathing in, remembering the kindness that you have experienced, the goodwill that you have experienced from others, and then breathing out, sharing the goodwill and kindness. Then it becomes a metta meditation. But first, get used to your breath settling down to between 5.5 to 6 seconds for inhalation, 5.5 to 6 for exhalation. You know, of course, the a stopwatch, you know, would trigger us to not relax, you know. So, so instead of using a stopwatch, you know, is it 5.5? Is it 5.5? I found that the Om Mani Padme Hum mantra chanted at a particular speed is very good at just very naturally. This is obviously recommended for those who have an affinity already with mantra recitation. But of course, sometimes mantra recitation gets into like mantra marathon, right? Fast, you know. There are other times, you know, when that kind of recitation is recommended, but not for this purpose. In another context, yeah, I have talked about how the practice of chanting, and in this case, yes, chanting out loud. There also, it seems, right, it's related to, it contributes to relaxation in the, and to relate it to physiologically what is going on. And now, current research on breath, scientific research finds that exhalation in particular is related to the parasympathetic nervous system, which is related to the rest and regroup and reproduce nervous system. The sympathetic nervous system is the fight and flight, the defensive part. For a healthy body and mind, both needs to be working and working in a balanced way. But our modern lifestyle seems to have created a situation where our sympathetic nervous system is always on. In a way, you know, when we don't have real tigers chasing us, our afflictive emotions recruit fake tigers, yeah, and mental emotional tigers that cause us always to be in a triggered state. So to compensate for that, you know, especially now, given our situation, then learning, using and appreciating the practice of chanting, whereby just the logistics or the physiological aspects of what happens when you're chanting is that you tend to take shorter breath, in-breath inhalation, and longer exhalation. Just the nature of keeping up with the chant. You breathe in fast, then breathe out slowly, 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 slowly. Breathe in fast, breathe out slowly, 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 slowly. This is not the optimal way to breathe, but this is, you know, a kind of intervention to balance the otherwise, you know, triggered sympathetic nervous system to kind of calm it down. And then we like whether chanting Om Mani Padme Hum or these longer chants, you have to you have to do the chants, with an appreciation of what you're chanting. So in particular, joy arises. Because these are special words, these are meaningful words. So joy, so you need to kind of deliberately encourage joy, joyful. Joy is kind of like here, the next related is what they call happiness, joy and happiness. So when joy, happiness are brought together or discussed together, joy is a more kind of excited level, joyful. Then the happiness is more like the gladdening of the heart. There is when the more active, joyful part is settling down, but in a more stable way. And then that is called happiness, sukha. So piti in Sanskrit, Pali, is joyful. Then joyful joined with slowly, kind of stabilizing into the gladdening of the heart. So these qualities also need to be deliberately brought into. And so, so we chant Om Mani Padme Hum, we know the meaning, we appreciate the meaning, so that should give rise to joy. Or the Bodhicitta vow, like we do at the beginning, or the sevenfold puja, all of that, we do with understanding, with clear comprehension, with attentiveness. So then we should bring joy into this. So these are all part and parcel of what we call the 84,000 dharmas. So that when we practice this, again, I want to emphasize, don't fall into the picking and choosing. Don't feel like, do I have to choose this? Do I have to choose that? There's overemphasis on choosing this over that. Back when we're in a village, there are not so many choices. So it's easier to choose. Once you have choose one, there's nothing else, But now we're in the global village with the internet. And if you get into the mentality of, I'm going to choose this, and from now on, I'm going to content with just this, it's not going to last. But rather, if you have a comprehensive understanding, then our one single practice is the practice of actualizing the two bodhicittas. Then, whatever we happen to be doing in terms of formal practice, that is the supreme method. That is the supreme method. To enhance our understanding of this point, we can borrow the words from the third patriarch of the Chan Zen tradition in East Asia. So this third patriarch, a somewhat shadowy figure, but there is one teaching, one song that is associated with him. And in this song, it says, the opening lines, it says, the great way, the great path is without difficulties, except for those who pick and choose. So for those who are stuck in the habit of picking and choosing, the great way becomes too great because too many possibilities. Rather than appreciating that, what the great way offers is that now no need to pick and choose anymore. Whatever is in front of you, that is what you cultivate with skill. And so the Buddha offers so many of these very skillful, subtle points of training. And they're all part and parcel of this great way. So in Shantideva, we already looked at, that section where Shantideva says, that the Buddha offers, so many gentle methods. Gentle here also can be understood as very subtle, not necessarily like obvious in your face how it works. That's because Buddha really understands, our kind of psychology. If he elaborates too much on the technical details, I feel we have a tendency, especially I think modern people, because our brains have become so sophisticated, our analysis, our, looking at it this way, that way, this way, that way. Then, given too many details, we get lost in the details. And then we think, if I know all the details, then I have mastered it. But that's not how we master. That's not how we develop the path. Yes, Judy. Let's see what's going on.
I can unmute now.
Yeah, you should be able to. Oh, okay. Okay, go ahead.
It's just a comment. I think this is such a simple but very profound idea of making all practices essentially head to the same point, because I've spent a lot of time trying to figure out how to do it right.
Mm-hmm.
And right meant the right practice or the right this, and it sort of frees me and us all, I think, to just do it.
Yes.
Do something, but do it with the idea of
Yes.
the bodhicittas, and I think that's very freeing.
Yes. Yes.
Because I don't have to worry about doing it right. I just have to worry about doing it.
Exactly. We get so distracted, by choosing. So go ahead and translate Judy's. Yeah. So Kyopa Jigtensumgun's Vajra statement that says, the 84,000 dharmas, they constitute a single path to awakening. So that Vajra statement is very helpful. Also, in the great Kadampa master Geshe Chekawa's 7-point lojo, in the section where he says, if you want to know, how well your mind training is going, he says one of the signs of that is, one of the indicators of that is when you begin to understand that all practices converge onto a single point. And that single point is the actualization of the two bodhicittas. He says, when you see that, no matter what practice you do, what teaching you take, all of that, they are all starting to converge onto a single point. It's a single point of welcoming self-grasping, actualizing two bodhicittas. He says, then you're making good progress now. More to add, Judy? Your hand is still up. Oh, okay. Just checking. Dala Tawa Jebe Nobar Jebe Gang Tarabadan Tamje Kembe Baradu Jobara Jeba Tam Jegez Jebe Manangadang Nyambe Zenjen Tamje Dewa Dan Den Dungyao Dandre Nidu Lana Mebaya Dabra Zobe Janju Rimboje Dobra Jai Nala Dhamma Jebe Dra Nopar Jebe Ge Tarba Dan Tamje Gembe Bardu Jobra Jeba Tam Jege Zo Jebe Manangadang Nyambe Zenje Tamje Dewa Dan Den Dunya Dandre Nudu Lana Mebaya Dabra Zobe Chanju Rinpoche Tobar Dala Dhamma Jebe Dra Nobar Jebe Ge Tarba Dan Tamje Gembe Bardu Jobra Jeba Tam Jege Zo Jebe Manangadang Nyambe Senchen Tamje Dewa Dan Den Dunya Dandre Nerdu Lana Mepa Yang Dabra Zobe Chanju Rinpoche Dobra Je Je Du Sama Geki Bardu Longa Yizum Gewala Gom Aji Bardu Longa Yizum Gewala Go Du Direne Song Te Ne Ma Sam Ta Sam Ye Bardu Longa Yizum Gewala Go Sanje Jodan Sochi Jodam La Chanju Bardu Dhani Kyabzu Je Dagi Jinsu Gebe Sonam Ki Drola Pencher Sanje Drubra Shu Sanje Jodan Sogi Chonam La Chanchu Bardu Dani Gyabzu Je Dagi Jinsu Gebe Sonam Ki Drola Pencher Sanje Drubra Shu Sanje Jodan Sogi Chonam La Chanchu Bardu Dani Gyabzu Je Dagi Jinsu Gebe Sonam Ki Drola Pencher Sanje Drubra Shu Kada Nyampe Senchen Tamche Dewa Dan Dewe Gyudan Dembra Gyurji Dunya Da Dunya Gi Gyudan Drewa Gyurji Dunya Mepe Dewa Dame Drewa Gyurji Nering Chadan Nidan Drewe Tanyan La Nebra Gyurji Manang Kadan Nyampe Senchen Tamche Dewa Da Dewe Gyundan Tempra Gyurji Dunya Dang Dunya Gi Gyudang Dewa Gyurji Dunya Mepe Dewa Dhame Dewa Gyurji Niring Chadang Nidang Dewe Tanyan La Nebra Gyurji Manang Kadan Nyampe Senchen Tamje Dewa Dang Dewe Gindan Tempra Gyurji Dunya Dang Dunya Gi Gyudang Dewa Gyurji Dunya Mepe Dewa Dhame Dewa Gyurji Niring Chadang Nidang Dewe Tanyan La Nebra Gyurji. In all the worlds of the 10 directions reside Tathagatas of the 3 times before each of you, lions among humans, I prostrate joyfully with body, speech, and mind by the power of this aspiration to noble deeds. All conquerors appear vividly in my mind with as many bodies as there are atoms in all lands. I prostrate to all you conquerors. In each atom Buddhas numberless as atoms, all in the midst of the heirs of the Buddhas. Thus I conceive of this Dharma Dhatu as completely filled with you conquerors in this way. With infinite oceans of praise and oceans of diverse melodies, I sing the excellent qualities of all you conquerors and praise all of you gone to bliss with the best flowers and best garlands, best music, ointments, and excellent parasols. Finest lamps and superior incense I offer to you, conquerors, with excellent garments and best fragrances, and sandalwood powder heap high as Mount Meru. All wondrous offerings perfectly arranged I offer to you, conquerors, these vast and unequal offerings to each and every one of you, conquerors, with the power of conviction and noble deeds. I prostrate and offer to all you conquerors all the harmful deeds that I have done with my body, speech, and mind under the power of desire, hatred, and ignorance. I confess each and every one of them. I rejoice in all the meritorious deeds of all conquerors in the 10 directions, and the heirs of the Buddha's solitary realizers here is still in training and beyond, and all wandering beings, you who are lamps of the worlds of the 10 directions, who have uninterruptedly attained Buddhahood through the stages of Bodhi. All you who are my protectors, please turn the unexcelled wheel of Dharma. With palms together, I earnestly beseech you who may intend to manifest final nirvana. Please remain for as many eons as there are atoms in the world, for the happiness and well-being of all wandering beings, whatever slight virtue that may have been gathered through prostrating, offering, confessing, rejoicing, requesting, and beseeching, I now dedicate to complete Bodhi. This ground sprinkled with scented waters and strewn with flowers, adorned with the supreme mountain, fog, continent, sun, and moon, I visualize as a Buddha land and offer it. May all wandering beings experience such a pure land. To the Gurus who possess the 3 kayas, I offer the outer, inner, secret, and thusness offerings with my body, wealth, and all phenomenal existence. Please grant the unsurpassed supreme attainment, whatever slight virtue I may have gathered through prostrating, offering, confessing, rejoicing, requesting, and beseeching. I now dedicate it to complete Bodhi. Om Guru Deva Dhaki Nirana Mandala Pratija Soha. Please turn the wheel of Dharma of the greater, lesser, and common vehicles in accordance with the dispositions and mental capacities of sentient beings. Doji Janjen Dele Naroda Mami Dapo Doji Dengun Kapin Zundan Zawela Mesha Sajula Mayidam Chogyong La Soa Depths of Daki Jinjilo Kia Drinki Domesam Lenge Drobe Donsung Yon La Gya Zumenge Wadoji Chang Par Jindin Kumpa Shabla Dudu Tatu Sanke Kyole Me Jinjilo Shi Tujeje Nenge Mumpa Semne Kyan Simto De Dudu Prajinjilo Hong Wajin Yojena Jansa Pema Kesa Tumbola Yasa Chuki The imagination should go to Gandoma Pungora again, just a dog, the Gagin logistics of Guru Bemas, the whole in Jiki. Igin Podane, the Sons and Jay, Gunjing of one year, and St. Jogon, don't say, but Zawela me shabla so there. So in this chapter on virya, on diligence, with joy described as one of the qualities of this kind of virya. So here we have reached verse 31. We have covered verse 31. So verse 32, stanza 32, begins to elaborate on these basically four factors that are conducive to virya, to the arising of this quality and the strengthening of this quality of virya. So 32 says, therefore, leaving everything that is adverse to it, I'll labor to increase my diligence through aspiration and self-confidence, relinquishment and joy, by strength of earnest application and exertion of control. Yeah, so 32 points to material that we have already covered in this chapter, points back to material that we already covered in this chapter, and also points forward to what will be discussed next. So what has been covered so far is those things that are adverse to virya, and specifically, those three types of laziness. They are adverse. They stand in the way of virya arising and becoming strong. So we have to make an effort to stop getting caught up in those three types of laziness as described in the verses that we have covered so far. Sometimes we want to say, like, hey, so how do I stop them? Those three types of laziness. Well, it's not easy, of course, but at the very least, you have to see their faults and you have to make a resolve and say, I'm going to stop. The first kind of laziness, the laziness of like not wanting to do anything, to kind of just waste away, our days and weeks and months and lifetime. You just have to start by saying, no, I stop, you know, like get up already. The second type of laziness, you know, which is the laziness of, I want to, you know, I just want to sleep. I just want to eat. I just want to watch Netflix. I just want to, you know, sit around and gossip about people, and you know, or so all these kind of distractions that I would rather do. Again, we have to see their faults and make a determination. No, I'm going to stop. Or I'm not going to spend so much, at least start with, you know, I'm not going to do so much of it. Then eventually, as you begin to stop doing so much of it, you see the attractiveness of that. Then you develop greater and greater capacity to just not waste away time like that. The third type of laziness, you know, feeling discouraged, feeling defeated, even before we start. Also, you know, we say, no, I'm going to stop that. I recognize that that's just part of the Martha Stewart designing prison cell sneakiness. And say, no, I fire you, you know. I don't need you. You're a bad coach, you know. Instead of encouraging me to jailbreak, just say, oh no, you know, you can't do it, you know. It's impossible to jailbreak, you know. Just be content with, you know, redecorating your prison cell, you know. No, we have to say no to it. So leaving those that are adverse, those factors, those opposites that are adverse to diligence. Now I will labor, I will put effort into increasing diligence through these four things. Aspiration, and this time it's called, the second one is called self-confidence. In verse 31, it is called steadfastness, remaining determined. And here is expressed as self-confidence. Then the third is relinquishment, letting go. And the fourth is joy, as a factor that has to be deliberately cultivated. So these are the four factors. So the remainder of this chapter on diligence is going to take us through these four factors. So let's read now the next section, the section on aspiration. Khenpo Kumbel identifies verses 33 to 46 as that section where Shantideva will explain the factor of aspiration. The boundless evils of myself and others, I must bring them all to nothing. Even though a single of these ills may take unnumbered ages to exhaust. And if I find within myself no sign that faults are even starting to be cleansed, why does my heart not burst asunder, destined as I am for boundless pain? Good qualities for my and others' sake, though they may be many, I must now accomplish, even though for each of them I must endeavor for unnumbered ages. Acquaintance I have never gained with even part of such great qualities. It is indeed amazing that I render meaningless this life that somehow I have gained. Offerings to the Buddhas I have never made. No feasts were ever held through my donations. No works have been accomplished for the teachings. The wishes of the poor I left unsatisfied. I have not saved the frightened from their fear. The wretched I have not consoled. My mother's pain, her womb's discomfort, these alone are my accomplishments. My failure to aspire to Dharma, now and in the past, has brought me to my present dereliction. Who therefore would spurn such aspiration? Aspiration, so the sage asserted, is the root of every kind of virtue. Aspiration's root, in turn, is constant meditation on the fruits of action. The body's pains, anxieties of mind, and all our fears of various kinds, to be deprived of what we want, such is the harvest of our sinful deeds. But if my acts are good, sincerely intended, then no matter where I turn my steps, the merit gain will honor me with its resulting benefits. But if through seeking happiness my deeds are wrong, no matter where I turn my steps, the knives of misery will cut me down, the wage and retribution of a sinful life. Through virtue, I will rest within the cool heart of a fragrance-spreading lotus, with splendor nurtured by the sweet words of the conqueror. Then from the lotus opened in the sage's light, in supreme form I will arise, to dwell the blissful Buddha's air in presence of victorious ones. All else as wages of my many sins, my skin completely flayed, I shall be utterly brought low by creatures of the Lord of Death, who on my body pour a liquid bronze all melted in the dreadful blaze, and pierced by burning swords and knives, my flesh dismembered in 100 parts will fall upon the white hot iron ground. Therefore I will aspire and tend to virtue and steep myself in it with great devotion. And with the method stated in the Vajradwaja, I will train in confident assurance. So these are the verses for that section. So first of all, I think the thing we can begin here, it says, is on verse 40. Aspiration, so the Buddha has taught, is the root of every kind of virtue. So of course here aspiration is a specific kind of aspiration, which is aspiration towards virtue. So it says like the fruits of virtue, the results of virtue, where do they come from? They come from first making determination. You can say aspiration is determination, making the determination, making the aspiration to accomplish this virtue. So then he says, then what is the root? What gives rise to aspiration? It's constant meditation. Here, it doesn't have to mean formal meditation, where you sit down, fold your legs, straighten your back. It doesn't mean that. It means always remembering, always contemplating, always considering the fruits of our actions, meaning to remember the principle of karma. Unskillful actions ripen as undesirable experiences. Skillful actions ripen as desirable experiences. What do we want? We want pleasant experiences. We don't want unpleasant experiences. So, given that, then actions become really important. So that kind of understanding, that kind of remembering, and not forgetting that, he says, that will then make us aspire to virtuous, skillful actions. And so that, he says, is the root of aspiration. So to help us see the faults and liabilities of unskillful actions of negative karma, and the faults and liabilities of not taking advantage of creating positive, virtuous, skillful karma, Shantideva then, verse 33, starting there, he says, the boundless evils of both myself and others, I must bring them all to nothing. That means I have to end them. Even though a single of these ills may take unnumbered ages to exhaust. So understanding how negative causes, unskillful actions bring about so much suffering, boundless as they are, those of myself, those of others, I will bring them to an end. Now here, footnote, of course, you cannot, in the end, force someone to not create negative karma. Here is a poetic way of saying, how do I bring others' evil to an end? By myself becoming Buddha, because that offers the greatest chances of being helpful to others, of being truly helpful to others, of being truly useful to others, is when we are Buddhists. So for that purpose, I will bring these negative actions to an end. even if a single of these might take innumerable ages to complete, I will do it. So it needs, so this is the aspiration part. And in 34, he is showing us kind of like sometimes, you need to skillfully use disappointment or embarrassment as a way to keep us diligent. So he says, and if I find within myself no sign that these faults are starting to be cleansed, oh, how can I not be sad over this situation? Here he's not saying, you should become defeatist, right? Because that's a fault. Don't let it go to the extent of like, oh, poor me, I cannot do it, and then give up. But rather, when necessary, you also need to not be so complacent and say, oh, today was spent completely without weakening these ills. Oh, shameful, shameful, shameful. So sometimes we have to do that, but not to the point of like, oh, I'm hopeless. I cannot accomplish this. So it's balanced. (33) and 34 is about unskillful actions and how determined one should be, how one should aspire, no matter how long it takes to even get rid of one. We should not give up, and we should not become complacent. 35, 36 is the other side of this, which is now thinking of the virtues, the good qualities that we can cultivate, that we can develop. No matter how hard the aspiration is, no matter how long it takes, I will endeavor. I will keep at this. And so right now, like also to reflect, to not be satisfied with the good qualities that you think you have, and say, but now I have so little. And instead, I meaninglessly waste away the opportunity that I have. Sometimes this is about wallowing in sadness also. Thinking, oh, samsara is so terrible. I did hate this place. I want to leave. People are having so much suffering. And we get distracted. But instead, like, oh, wow, this is another opportunity. This is the day that I can grow my qualities and diminish my faults. So 35, 36 emphasizes the qualities part, the skillful actions part. 33, 34, the unskillful, the bad qualities that needs to be given up. (37) and 38, the first 6 lines of this, describes things that are good to do, but Shantideva, kind of to exaggerate, he says, but I have not done any of them. He says, but there is a list of, practical and good things that we could do. But because we become discouraged, or because, we don't make strong aspirations, we don't know how to make aspirations, so then we waste away. Whether waste away because we think, oh, there's all these other fun things that I should do, that I want to do, or we waste away because we think, oh, no, I don't have energy, I don't want to do, right? All those types of laziness. And so here it says, offerings to the Buddhas. There, we should do that. The giving of feasts here means like to offer to the spiritual community feasts, made food offerings. No works have I accomplished for the teachings, meaning I have not studied them, I have not shared them, I have not promoted them. So these are things that we should do to promote the study, to contribute to the growth of the Dharma, and fulfill the wishes of the poor. Again, we have not done that, he says, that we should do. Save those who are frightened from their fear. Console those who are wretched. So 6 things here explicitly mentioned as things that we can do, but we don't. Right? So then he says, at the end of verse 38, he says, but instead, all I have done is to just torture my mother. When in the womb, causing her so much pain and discomfort. And then when after born, causing her so much worry. That's about all I have done, he says. So then 39, he says, so why this situation now is because I have failed to make aspiration towards the Dharma. Towards the Dharma here means, aspiration towards waking up to what is. Dharma, of course, refers to the teachings of the Buddha. But even the teachings of the Buddha, they are based on and pointing us towards seeing things as they are, waking up from our confusions. So the ultimate aspiration that we're making is an aspiration to waking up for the benefit of others, for the benefit of all beings, and that is, again, the two bodhicittas. Make aspirations to awaken the two bodhicittas, to accomplish the two bodhicittas. Then there are more specific aspirations that we make that is geared towards this basic aspiration is the aspiration towards the Dharma, the aspiration towards awakening the two bodhicittas. So now let's take a short break.
Wage joare mum, wage joare mum. Wage joare mum, wage joare mum. Wage joare mum, wage joare mum. Wage joare mum, wage joare wage joare mum, wage joare mum. Wage joare mum, wage joare mum. Wage joare mum, wage joare mum. Wage joare mum, wage joare 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 wage jware 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 wage jware
And so now, so verse 40, we've looked at, so where it says how, why aspiration is really important. And so basically aspiration is that quality, that kind of mental quality that keeps us focused towards the Dharma, that keeps steering us towards the Dharma. And so we need to make aspirations because it will keep us focused on achieving this goal. 41, the body's pains, the anxieties of mind. These are the two, mainly our body and mind. The trouble that comes from it is basically either body pains or anxieties of mind, right? So that just summarizes everything. It says the body's pains and the anxieties of the mind. Yeah, they are all the result of our negative actions, our unskillful actions. Increasingly, right, bodily pains have been minimized by basically, modern technology, medical technology. So bodily pains, have been minimized compared to 50 years ago, 500 years ago, for sure. We have, absolute evidence that people are living longer. Childbirth is nowhere close to how dangerous it was before. All of that. So there's been great progress to make bodily pains lesser and lesser. But guess what? The other side has been shooting up, up, and up. Anxieties of mind. So the results of our negative karma has to come out one way or the other. Either physical pain or anxieties of mind. So yes, modern technology, medical technology is stopping it from coming out in the area of bodily pains. Guess what? It's going to come. Manifest as anxieties of mind of all sorts. So all our fears of various kinds, to be deprived of what we want, these are all about anxieties of mind. Fear of not getting what we want. Fear of losing what we have. All these are anxieties of mind, various forms. Become more and more and more and more. The slightest thing not going our way will set us off. Even people who meditate a lot, supposedly, probably doing a very tight kind of meditation. The more they meditate, the more easily they get annoyed. So here, it says all of these, they are the result of unskillful actions, unskillful causes that we create. 42, conversely, if my acts are good, meaning if my actions are skillful, if I create virtue, sincerely intended, then no matter where I turn my steps, the merit that comes from that, the positive results that come from that will honor me with its resulting benefits, no matter where I go. Now, here, right, it's not talking about this kind of calculated, like, oh, if I do this, I get this. If I do that, I get that. It's not to encourage this kind of mind. It is to say, if you infuse your mind, your heart with only creating virtue, acting skillfully, no matter where you go, you'll be fine. This is not saying, like problems will not come. Even the Buddha, right? People came, some to complain to him, some to criticize him, and on some rare occasions, even for the Buddha, people even came to harm him physically or to harm his reputation. But he was not disturbed. So this is the more important point for verse 42. This is not like, if you, like the equivalent of like, if you worship God, then everything will be fine. No more problems, this attitude. If you worship the right God, and so you cannot substitute that, by simply like, oh, if you did everything right, then life will be fine, will be wonderful. Everything you want, you will get. No, it's not saying that. It's saying when your mind is suffused with skillful actions, virtue, well-intentioned, pure motivation, which is bodhicitta, then no matter where you go, with or without problems, it doesn't matter. You will be honored by your merit. "43 is a caution, is a reminder that all of us are seeking happiness, But if we don't understand where happiness comes from, then we will go looking for happiness in the wrong places, so to say. Then our actions, we create negative actions. Then no matter where I turn my steps, the knives of misery will cut me down, which is the result of this unskillful actions. So here, 43 can also mean, you might be born in the best place to live these days with the right, neighborhood, all of those things surrounded by an abundance of everything. But if the patterns of mind and heart that you are cultivating is negative, then no matter where you turn, it will feel like the knives of misery keep cutting you up. "44 and 45 offers two different poetic visions of how we can live our life. It's about here, it's not about next life. But of course, if we take care of this life in this way, then next life follows naturally. The two visions is 44 is a poetic vision of the classic description of how one achieves rebirth in Amitabha's Pure Land. 45 is a classic description of how one is born into the hell realms. But here, right, when Shantideva offers these two scenarios here, he's actually reminding us right now. Are we going to be constantly born in Amitabha's Pure Land right now in this body on this earth? Or are we going to be constantly born in the hell realms? It all depends on whether our mind is inclined towards Dharma or we are under the power of confusion and we keep creating misery and suffering. So the vision offered in verse 44, through virtue, right, through infusing your mind and your heart in skillful actions, in committed to actualizing the two bodhicittas, then if you have that, then you can just rest within the cool heart of a fragrant spreading lotus. This is the description of how beings are reborn in Amitabha's Pure Land. It says that you will find yourself inside a very comfortable lotus flower. And when the time is right, the lotus flower would just unfold. And then you will emerge from the lotus flower And as you are in this lotus flower, you will hear Amitabha's teachings. And so it says, some people, their lotus opens faster. Some people, the lotus takes longer to open. This is all about, what kind of karma we carry as we're born into Amitabha's Pure Land. Then, even if the lotus is not open, nurtured by Amitabha's voice, Amitabha's speaking of the Dharma, slowly, slowly, this lotus, petal by petal, it will unfold, it will open. And then from the lotus open in the sage's light in supreme form, I will arise. Then, not only can you hear Amitabha, you perceive Amitabha's, which Amitabha means boundless light. That light, in supreme form, you will arise to dwell as the Buddha's heir, as successor to Amitabha, in the presence of all Buddhas. So that is one vision offered. If we keep bodhicitta in heart, then right now, right here, every moment is rebirth into Amitabha's Pure Land. Otherwise, the alternative is the other one, which is from moment to moment, we are reborn in the hell realms. So 45, it says, because of the wages of my sin, the result of my unskillful actions, the negativity that I have created, then my skin completely flayed, I shall be utterly brought low by the creatures of the Lord of Death, who on my body pour a liquid bronze, all melted in the dreadful blaze, and pierced by burning swords and knives, my flesh, dismembered in 100 parts, will fall upon the white-hot iron ground. That's the other scenario. So basically Shantideva says, choose Amitabha's Pure Land right now, right here. 46, the first two lines summarizes this section. The next two lines introduces us to the next factor, which is the factor of determination or self-confidence. So first two lines of 46, it says, therefore I will aspire towards virtue, towards skillful actions, and steep myself in it with great devotion. Be devoted to waking up, be devoted to the actualization of the two bodhicittas. Constantly make aspirations to actualize the two bodhicittas. To be inspired by that, to be encouraged by that. And then with that, now we can use, so the next two lines it says, with the method stated in the Vajradwaja, I will train in confident assurance. This Vajradwaja is referring to a bodhisattva that turns up in the Avatamsaka Sutra. There, this bodhisattva, that section that involves this bodhisattva, Vajradwaja, is on the topic of determination, which is the next factor. Determination. So, any questions or comments for what we have covered today? And then the 47 to 62, you know, there will be some kind of imagery of, like, you know, the bodhisattva as a great warrior, which is brave, which is determined. No matter how strong the enemies, you know, you will overcome. So there's some of that in that next section. The first two verses of the next section on determination, there's I feel a very interesting kind of advice about how we feed certain unskillful mental patterns and habits. that if we're not, if we don't pay attention to it, we will find ourselves in this loop that we constantly reinforce a certain unhelpful, harmful mindset, habits. Anyway, today we will end here then. And for those of you who are also participating in the Shravasti meditation class, that is Thursday, 7:30 to 9, usually to about 9:15, 9:30. That's only on Zoom, as well as I think there's some YouTube live streaming. Then those of you who are participating in Drigunda Makirti Sangha tomorrow, 7 to 9, and those of you who are local, we will meet at the temple tomorrow. So anyway, now we do dedication of Bodhicitta. Translators can just briefly translate, because if you're translating, then probably it's not for people who are local here to go to the temple. Chanju sem chorim purche ma ge banam ge gyuji ge banyam pa me pa ya gone gong du pel sho. Thank you, and we'll see you on Saturday. Yeah, we'll continue on Saturday.
Thank you.
Gracias, Antonio.
Bye-bye.
Gracias.
Happy birthday, Waiting.
Happy birthday, waiting.
Happy
Thank you.
birthday.
Happy birthday,
Bye.
waiting.
Birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday. Happy birthday. Happy birthday to you.